It's 2:14 a.m. on a container ship 1,400 nautical miles southeast of Sri Lanka. The third engineer does not answer his alarm. He is 41. His cabin is 3 decks below the bridge, and his body will stay on board for the next 41 days. Not on deck, not in a morgue. The ship has no morgue. You are looking at 23 people, 8 time zones from any hospital that could have helped him. That is the problem. A floating steel box built to move 20,000 boxes, not to keep a human body. The crew knows what you are thinking. Turn around, go back. You can't. The wind is 18 knots, the horizon is empty. The nearest helicopter is 900 miles away. Fuel alone would cost more than the ship earns in a day. No one is coming to help. You have to handle it with what is on board. The first job is not to move the body. It is to be sure. Cargo ships do not carry doctors. Fewer than 1 in 50 does. The rest carry a medicine chest, a chief officer with 32 hours of medical training, and a satellite phone. The person who decides is the captain. He is not a doctor, so he calls one. Every major flag state runs a free radio medical service. Italy has CIRM in Rome. France has CIRM in Toulouse. The US has George Washington University through the Coast Guard. The captain describes breathing, pulse, pupils, skin. The doctor on shore listens. In 2020, a systematic review counted more than 8,000 calls like this to a single service over a few years, from more than 1,400 ships. The point is simple. You do not declare death alone at sea. You do it through a voice on a satellite link that may cut out. The officer checks again. No chest movement. No carotid pulse for a full minute. Pupils fixed and dilated. The time is written down. 2:27. Then he checks a second time, 10 minutes later. Only then does the captain accept it. Go back to that cabin. Picture it. 2 men in the doorway, one holding a torch, one holding a phone. No machines beeping. Just a checklist and a doctor a continent away saying, "Say it again." That delay matters. It protects the crew, it protects the record, and it starts a clock that will not stop for weeks. You think you know what happens next. Put him in the freezer. Turn the ship around. Call a helicopter. All three sound right. All three are wrong, but for different reasons. Start with the freezer. Any crew mess has a walk-in freezer at -18. It looks perfect. Cold is cold. It is not. The people who insure these ships learned this the hard way. A body that is frozen dehydrates. The skin darkens. It gets freezer burn. If the family ever wants to see him again, they may not recognize him. Lift a frozen body and the limbs can snap. And when it finally reaches a lab, it must sit for 3 full days to thaw. In those 3 days, it rots faster than if you had never frozen it at all. So the rule is blunt. Do not freeze. The second idea is kinder. Turn back. The nearest port is behind you. Why not go back? Take one example. A modern container ship burns about 100 tons of fuel a day at sea. That is roughly $30,000 a day just in fuel. Add lost charter hire, missed berthing windows, fees for late containers. A single medical diversion averages $180,000, according to UK tech firm Martech Marine. 1 in 5 ships does it every year, but a diversion for a living person might save a life. A diversion for a death saves nothing. No flag requires it. No company orders it unless they must. So the ship keeps going forward. That feels cold. It is arithmetic. So what does the crew actually do? The first hour is paperwork. You are thinking about a body. The captain is thinking about a logbook. Under US law and under almost every other flag, he must enter every death. Not later. Now, in the official log. Hour, latitude, longitude, name, rank, age, cause if known. It is signed by the master and by the mate or a second crew member. If there is a medical person on board, they sign too. That book is a legal record. It goes to the flag state. It goes to the company. It goes to the next port. One copy stays on the ship for years. At the same time, the captain sends the first messages. To the company operations room ashore. To the ship's flag administration. To the next port's agent. All by email and satellite. If the ship is US bound, Federal Rule 42 CFR 71.21 says the master must report any death to the quarantine station at the port of arrival immediately before arrival. If it is a US flagship, 46 CFR requires notice to the nearest Coast Guard office within 5 days and sooner if he can. The words are careful. Report without delay, by the quickest means available. The body is still in the cabin. Nothing has been moved. A body bag is brought, not a freezer bag. A proper zippered bag with an identity label on the outside. The cabin is locked. The engineers are called, because the real decision is not whether to keep the body, it is where to keep it at the exact right temperature. Here is the answer you were not given. The body does not go in the freezer. It goes in the provision cold store. That phrase matters. Every cargo ship has 2 or 3 refrigerated provision rooms, one for fish and meat at -18, one for vegetables and dairy at +3 to +5, one for beverages. The body goes in the vegetable room, set to about 4 degrees, not 2, not 6, 4. That is 39 Fahrenheit. The UK P&I Club puts it in a bulletin the masters all know. Store at 4 degrees, off the floor if possible, label visible, in a body bag, never below +2. The woman who wrote that guidance for the club claims executive Linda Wright spelled out why. At 4 degrees you slow bacteria. You do not freeze water in the cells. You keep the body examinable for a post-mortem weeks later. If the voyage will last less than 2 months, 4 degrees holds. If it will last longer, you still hold at 4 if you can, and you plan a port touch just for the transfer. Some ships improvise. A reefer container on deck, empty, set to chill, locked, kept separate from food, can serve if the provision room is too small. But food rooms are preferred because the engineer on watch logs their temperature every 4 hours. You can picture it. A small white room with wire shelves usually holding cabbages and milk, now cleared, washed. One bag on a pallet, a thermometer ticking, the door locked from outside, a sign, not to be opened, and outside that door, 22 people keep working. The next part is voice and paper. The company tells the family, not the captain. The company. Shoreside managers trained for that call. On board, the captain inventories everything the man owned. Money, phone, clothes, listed, bagged, witnessed, signed by the mate. The property stays sealed until port. Photos are taken of the cabin. Nothing is cleaned beyond what hygiene requires. If the death looked medical, notes are kept of last meals, last watch, any complaint. If it looked like suicide or violence, the scene is frozen, literally locked until investigators can board. But that can be weeks away. The flag matters. A ship registered in Panama reports to Panama. A ship registered in Liberia reports to Liberia. A ship registered in Marshall Islands files extracts of the log, the passport copy, the death note, the doctor's radio report. The International Convention says a very serious casualty with a death must be investigated by the flag and the findings sent to the IMO. Practically, that investigation starts months later. For now, the ship pulls weather files, saves voyage data, saves engine logs. At some point, the captain will ask the crew to write short statements. What they saw, when they last spoke to him, in their own words. No captain tells them what to write. He just collects. Add it up. The body is in a 4-degree box. The paperwork is in a plastic folder in the master's safe. That folder holds the inventory list signed by 2 witnesses, the passport, the medical radio transcript, the photographs. No step is skipped because at sea a missing signature looks like a missing truth. And the ship is still 2,000 miles from where it can hand either to anyone. You are thinking, this is inhuman. You have a dead man in the salad fridge, and you keep steaming towards Singapore because boxes must be on time. Say it ruder. You are hauling cheap televisions past a corpse to save money. That objection is fair, so hear it straight. The ship does not keep going because no one cares. It keeps going because the sea forces a choice with no good option. Take distance. In mid-Pacific, the nearest diversion port can be 5 days away. 5 days out, 5 days back, 10 days. At $30,000 a day fuel plus $50,000 a day charter, you burn $800,000. The cargo misses connection. Cars do not reach dealers. Food rots in other containers. And none of that brings him back. The insurers know this. In 2021, they changed the rules to pay for diversions that move a body ashore for repatriation. Because before that, some owners would not divert even if they wanted to, because insurance would not cover it. That change came after ships were refused 13 times. 13. The Romanian captain who died off the United Arab Emirates in April 2021 did not reach land until October. His body rode in a walk-in freezer for 6 months while his ship asked 13 countries to take him. You heard that right. 6 months. That is not efficiency. That is ports saying no because they fear paperwork, infection, liability. The skeptic is right about this. The system is built for ships, not for mourning. It will keep the body safe at 4 degrees, but it will not pause the world. Change the sound for a minute. Stop counting money. Go stand in the passageway. It is day 9. The ship still rolls. The galley still serves at 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1800. The cold store door is at the end of the corridor that the junior cook walks past every morning with bread. He does not open it. No one does. The engineer still logs the temperature on his rounds. 4 o'clock, 4.1 degrees. 8 o'clock, 3.9 degrees. The same sheet where he logs the fish room. The crew is 22 now, 1 short. They work the same watches. 4 on, 8 off. The empty bunk stays empty. No one takes the blankets. In the mess room they talk lower, then not at all. Sleep gets shallow. A study of seafarers during the pandemic found many working 8 months straight when their contract said 6. 2 extra months on a steel floor that never stops moving while you know exactly what is behind that white door. Some crews pray. Some crews do not. A few ships have a chaplain's number on the bulkhead. Most do not. The captain walks the decks more. He checks that the lock holds. He checks that the label does not fall off. He writes in the log that the body has been inspected and remains secure. That is the phrase, remain secure. It is not poetry. It is what you write when you cannot write what it feels like to eat lunch 10 feet from a colleague who will not get off in Rotterdam, or Singapore, or wherever you thought land would fix this. The smell is controlled by cold. At 4 degrees there is no smell beyond the door. That matters more than you think when 22 people must still eat and sleep. Land does not fix it automatically. Take the last miles. 2 days from port, the captain sends a new message. Death on board. Body preserved at 4 degrees since date. Request permission to land remains and to land crew for statements. Some ports say yes. Many say not here. During COVID, ports turned ships away even when they had hospitals. Bodies stayed on board because a port health officer feared the paperwork more than the sea. The ship in the Arabian Sea asked 13 states. 13. That number is not an anecdote. It came from a Wall Street Journal report in November 2021, pulled from industry logs and P&I records. The company had to keep the reefer running that whole time. Fuel, watch. Every port, a new form, a new refusal. When a port finally says yes, the choreography is tight. Health goes aboard first, then police. Then the coroner or medical examiner. The body is lifted in its bag, label checked against log, passport, inventory list, photographs, signatures, a receipt. It is not a burial. It is a handover. The family will still wait for repatriation flights, embalming, perhaps an autopsy that now takes days because the remains must warm slowly. On board, the cold store is washed, disinfected, temperature logged one more time. The shelves are restocked with cheese. Dinner is served. The ship sails with 21, then loads a replacement at the next manning port. And the logbook keeps its line. At 8:42 local, body disembarked at X. Alongside remains the fact that no rule forces a faster answer. So where does that leave you? You stepped onto a ship that can cross an ocean with 23 people. You learned the body does not go in the freezer at -18. It goes in a box at +4, on a pallet, under a sign, checked every 4 hours by an engineer who also checks the milk. You learn the captain does not decide alone. A doctor on a satellite guides his hands, and a logbook carries the weight. And you learn the ship will not turn, not because no one cared, but because turning changes nothing, costs close to $1 million, and may still find no port willing to open. That is the mechanism. It is not dramatic. It is a cold store, a satellite call, a line in a book. Now picture one last detail, not in any bulletin. Modern ships are getting bigger and crews smaller. 20 years ago, a typical new U.S. flagship carried 45 people. Today it carries 20 to 24. Foreign ships as few as 8 to 12. Fewer eyes, fewer hands, longer watches, and more time at sea between ports where a body can be landed. Add it up, one winter storm, one heart attack 3 days after leaving Long Beach with 18 days to Busan, and the arithmetic says that man rides with you past Japan. The question that remains is not where to store him. We solved that. The question is who will agree to take him when you finally arrive, and whether that answer will still be 13. Insurance now covers diversion for a body, but it does not force a port to accept. Flag states investigate after, not before. The next long route will test the same gap.